People who sleep naked. When has it backfired? Before we dig into it, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Story 1, not me, but I was spending the night at my friend's house in the suburban neighbourhood. In the middle of the night, his mom had let their toy fox terrier out to go pee and it got snatched by a coyote. She screamed and woke us all up. A wolf got noodled. Within 10 seconds, his dad was sprinting out of the house completely butt-ass naked with a Glock in his hand and went running down the street. Came back about 15 minutes later with a DOG and obviously still completely naked. It's come to my attention that this isn't exactly a backfire, but I think anything that causes you to run around your neighbourhood naked should qualify. Story 2, there was one morning in high school when my dad decided to wake me up for school by ripping the covers off me in bed. That was the last time that happened. Story 3, I had a closet-sized single dorm room and people would always pull the fire alarm in the middle of the night and we'd all have to go outside. One time I was so drowsy I just walked out instinctively and halfway down the hall I raced back. Thankfully this was an old building so I didn't get locked out of the room. Story 4, I used to sleep naked. Now I own a cat. Those two overlapped for only a week. Story 5, I don't know if I would call it backfired, but when the suicidal girl is staying the night at your brother's house because they're watching this girl for suicide reasons wakes you up in the middle of the night and is sitting right on top of you telling you that you have to talk her down right then and there or she's going to kill herself in front of you. There, you would probably just rather be clothed for that encounter. Story 6, I locked myself out of my flat while sleepwalking one. My girlfriend was on holidays, so I had to wait until morning, borrow a towel off a neighbour and then walk about a mile up the road to the estate agent to get a spare key. Story 7, been sleeping in the Ross since I was a kid and would fidget out of my PJs. I think it used to bug my mother, but she finally gave up. Every girlfriend would start out the relationship by joining me, but over time would end up with the conventional night clothes. Hasn't backfired on me yet. Story 8, I normally don't do this, but one summer night I had a meal from my local Mexican place that I love. Since I was busy that day, I didn't have lunch and decided to get significantly more than what I normally order to cure the hungry. I also did not get an opportunity to poop that day. Since it was unusually hot that night, I decided to ditch everything and sleep there after one very realistic dream of me on the toilet. Let's just say that I had to get a new set of bedsheets the next morning. Story 9, one time my sister was hiding in my closet to wait for a bit until I was almost asleep so she could scare me. Unfortunately, she didn't know I was whacking it and she jumped out to scare me right as I came, which ended up going all over her face and into her mouth. My mom heard the commotion and came into my room to investigate and, after seeing me naked and my sister covered in my jizz, got the wrong idea. To make a long story short, I now have to frick both of them every night so they won't tell my girlfriend. Story 10, I was at a hotel and the fire alarm went off. I had to very quickly find clothes or get dressed. It was a legit small fire too. Story 11, when I was about 13 or 14, I used to sleep naked until I started to sleepwalk a lot. Never slept naked ever again. At 8. Sorry for what you had to see, Mom. Story 12, never chased a burglar down the stairs, through the kitchen and out my front door without wearing a shred of clothing and no weapon in hand. The power of nakedness. Story 13, I started somewhere in high school because of night sweats. In college, I moved into an on-campus apartment alone and the very next morning, I woke up to 3 grown mid-50s Jews with their faces in my window. My bed was directly below the window. University housing gave some BS excuse about my window needing maintenance, just my window specifically. None of the others in the entire complex. The window wasn't even designed to open. I think they were being pigs, but I was 1,000 miles away from anyone who cared about me and just let it go. Story 14, when in uni, my room was right in front of the university, so when looking out my windows you would look straight into classrooms. So one day the inevitable happened. I had forgotten to close the curtains at night. You couldn't see me while I was in bed due to the head of the bed obstructing the window. However, getting out of the bed would expose my entire naked body to the world, so any bored student whose sight was wandering off outside the classroom window could get a nice viewing of my naked body. The way I fixed it was by simply rolling up in my bedsheets and sort of hopped my curtains in my bedsheet roll. I'm male, BTW, so I didn't have to cover up breasts. Story 15, a few years ago I was working a night shift and had just returned home at 7 am. I was so tired that I didn't close the front door properly. After I activated the house alarm, I went to my room and undressed myself and went to bed. I wake up to the alarm blaring and I look around my room as I hear yelling. I see there are 2 female cops in the house with their guns out and one of them was pointing it at me. I'm half asleep and not really understanding what was going on. The officer asked if I lived here, to which I said yes. Then she ordered me to show her my ID. My ID, which was in my wallet, was on my dresser. I pointed her to where my wallet was. She ordered me to show it to her, and I said I couldn't get up because I was naked under my blanket. So, while still pointing her gun at me, she opened up my wallet. After that, the cops left, and after securing the front door properly, I went back to sleep. Story 16, Basic Training. Getting called out of bed because someone fell asleep on guard duty. My private was standing at attention. Story 17, I've been sleeping naked for over 40 years, and so far it hasn't caused me any problems anywhere. Story 18, when my little cousin, who's a male, pulled my blankets off to wake me up, he was not expecting his oldest female cousin to be completely nude. That was a very awkward moment. Story 19, I was young, like 12, and had just hit puberty. I had slept naked my whole life and it didn't change. One day, super hot babysitter that I didn't know was gonna work tries waking me up, which was hard because I was a really heavy sleeper. I woke up right as she pulled the covers off me to behold my 12-year-old rock-hard morning woodcock.